there. All right, so we are back. We are going to hear another interview with the Herrick Scoop podcast. This group has their goal set on talking to staff members, talking to teachers, talking to faculty members, students, and get an idea of just what's more about Herricks Middle School, more than just like the teaching and the instruction, what goes on in the classrooms. But everyone has a unique perspective on teaching and learning and all the other fun things that make the people kind of great here. So this is a good, nice opportunity for this group to share that. And without further ado, I'm going to let Zainab hop on and announce our mystery guest for today.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to Herricks Studios. I'm Zainab, and each week we interview teachers and staff from Herricks Middle School. If you're interested in finding out more about your teachers, then this podcast is for you. This is episode 2 for January 4th, 2024. Happy New Year, guys. Last episode, we interviewed Miss Lee, the 6th grade math teacher. So now we're moving down the schedule to science with Dr. Sinacori. Doc, say hi.
Hi, everybody. It's nice to be here.
How are you today?
I'm doing great. This has been I'm honored to be on the program today, and it's wonderful. It's my first podcast ever.
Oh, I was about to ask if this is your first time being interviewed.
Mm-hmm. My first time, yes.
Are you nervous?
No, I'm comfortable. You've made me feel very comfortable.
Oh, thank you.
I feel good. I'm ready to go.
Is there anything you'd like to say about yourself before we start the podcast?
Oh, wow. Well, I've been a science teacher at Herricks for 23 years. And besides teaching, I coach. So I coach cross country. That's boys and girls. I coach boys basketball in winter 1, girls basketball winter 2, and then boys lacrosse in the spring.
Oh, okay.
So I love coaching and teaching.
I was about to ask, when did you start working here? And so did you work at any other school before ours?
Prior to coming to Herricks in 2000, that was the year I started, 2000. I was a chiropractor. That's why Doc is my prefix. Yeah. So I was a chiropractor, and I did that for 15 years.
Why'd you make the switch from a doctor to teacher?
Great question. And I still get asked that question every day almost. Why did you switch? You were a chiropractor. I was very successful, helped a lot of people, with a lot of different ailments. But, this is a big but, I got burnt out. I got kind of bored of doing that. I felt like there was something else in life for me to do. And my dad, who had passed away since, said, why don't you become a school teacher? You love helping people and you love kids, and I think you'd be a great teacher. And I was like, I never thought of that. I never thought I would ever be a teacher. But I went to school and became a teacher.
What made you choose science?
Well, being a chiropractor doctor, I went to Villanova, and I was, biology major. So being bio and being in the health profession, I was like, what am I going to do? And a lot of people thought I was going to be a gym teacher at first because I was in good shape. I'm not good shape now, but I was in very good shape back when I was in my 20s and 30s. And that seemed like what I was going to do. Science is the only thing I really knew. I didn't want to do math or social studies or English.
Yeah.
And I could have gone to physical education, but science was just, a natural fit for me.
So you said you had a degree in biology, right? So then what made you switch to earth science?
Okay, it was biology and psychology undergrad. So earth science, well, I started teaching here, and I was teaching just general science. I was teaching 6th grade science, 7th and 8th grade. And then they needed an earth science teacher. So my chairperson said to me, listen, we need an earth science teacher. We'd like that you're working here, and we want to keep you here. Can you go back and get another degree in earth science? So I went back and got 30 more credits in earth science, which was it took me about a year and a half. And then I was certified in bio, general science, chemistry, and earth science. So that's a good thing.
Do you enjoy earth science more than biology?
I love earth science. It's just a perfect fit for me. I can do it in my sleep. And it's a wonderful thing. And even though, I'm not complacent when I teach it, every class, every year is different. I always add new things, and the chemistry and the dynamics of each class just makes me, excited about it. And I just want to continue to do that till I retire.
What about earth science do you like? Like what topics?
Oh, that's a good question. Obviously I like all of them, but the ones I really appreciate more is when the students don't get it so easily.
Why is that?
Some of them are more abstract. Some of them, if you're studying like biology, it's the parts of the body, it's how they function, it's the anatomy, it's the physiology. But with the earth science, it's more conceptual. And when students don't get it the first time, that's okay. But that's like an internal, motivator for me.
Like to motivate to like teach us better or like?
To try to do something different, to try to show you a different angle, a different way to study it, different techniques, different things I could do.
I heard you used to teach at the high school too. So how is teaching at the high school different from teaching at the middle school?
Well, there's a couple of differences. One of them is the course load. When I went to the high school, I was teaching anatomy and physiology, or human body systems. And that's what I really went to school for. And being a chiropractor, that was a natural fit for me, to teach about the human body and the functionality of it, and the physiology. And we did a lot of projects in the high school. And I was able to work with 10th, 11th, and 12th graders. So it was nice because when I walked into that school, I had those students previously, which was a lot different than being in middle school where I don't know half the kids in my class. I've never seen them before. If I coach them, then I know who they are. And that's a big advantage to have like students that you've seen before, or you know their personalities, what motivates them or inspires them. But in the high school, a lot of kids like took that class because I was teaching it.
So what made your class so different from like all the other high school biology classes?
Well, I think every teacher is unique, in the way they approach the class, how they educate the students. I'm not great with technology, so and you can attest to that. My classes are not going to be very technological savvy. We're not going to do a lot of things. I'm like more hardcore, just talk, let the students like try to investigate some things. We take notes, we study the notes, and we really work each subject. But at the high school, there's that diversity where teachers, and they're all great. I've seen so many great teachers there. But I think the most important thing as a teacher is to motivate students to do their work and to do well and to want to do well. And that's, whether I'm coaching athletes or students, motivate them, try to inspire them to do their best. And if they really like you, if they like the subject, then they're going to do well.
So you told me that you're like more like hardcore and like you like or like old fashioned. So why do you give your students like a copious amount of work? Because I hear a lot of kids like complain like, oh, Doc gives me so much homework and stuff. So why do you do that?
I think when I was a student, way back when, in the 60s and 70s, I was born in 1960. So when I was a middle school student, high school student, I felt that the more work I had, the better I would do. I had a brother who could like do his homework in 10 minutes and do his math homework in 15 minutes. Now me, I needed an hour, 2 hours. So I feel personally that if I give an ample amount of work to students, the ones that are going to get it done quickly will get it done. And the ones that can't do it so quickly will actually, if they want to do well in the class, will actually spend the time to get that work done, and I think that's gonna like benefit them in the end.
So basically, it like acts as like a way to study or like a review from the class, basically.
Yes.
Okay. So what would you say to the kids who like can't do their like work and like managing that in other classes? What would you say to them?
Well, the first thing that I love students to do is advocate for themselves. Many times students just sit in silence. They're struggling with a subject, whether it's, earth science or any other class in school. And that's why a lot of times when my students leave my classroom, I say, keep doing great things in your other classes, right? Don't just do great things here. Do great things in other classes. Because it's very repetitive. If you do well in one class, you're going to want to do well in another class, and all of a sudden, wow, I'm doing really great in school, and I like this. But for the students that are struggling, I always felt like that I was very approachable as a teacher.
I was about to say that.
And thank you. Plus students that don't even have me will like come into school, or, will come into my classroom or say hello to me. So I am very approachable, and I would hope that, students would come to me and say, like, what strategy can I use? Should I rewrite my notes? Is there any, and I've had students come up to me and say, is there any extra work I can do, to do better in this subject? Or how do I approach this? And I do a couple of things, like there's one thing called Doc's Dictionary, which is like, usually like before the subject, I give them vocabulary words. And hopefully that'll, motivate them to like look through the whole chapter and almost get like a little debriefing on like everything we're going to study for that topic. And, if they do the work on their own, they're definitely going to benefit more from it. So a lot of times, like a question that you ask, how do I motivate them or what do I tell them? Just put the extra time in, and look at yourself and say, okay, am I really studying my notes daily? Because if I don't give like written homework every day, you should go home and look at the notes that we took and understand that before you come in the next day.
Wouldn't that apply to like any other class too?
Yes, that would definitely, transverse any class you can study for.
So you said that you were like you used to like take really long to do your homework. So would you say you were like a good student when you were younger, or?
Okay, I was a good student, and I just like when I coach. I was a good athlete. I was a good athlete in high school. I had awards and things like that. But I think as a student, I struggled a little bit, but I got very good grades. So I can identify with those students that struggle a little bit and that need that extra time or that extra instruction to do well. Students that get it right the first time just remind me of my brother growing up. And I'm happy for them, but they don't like really need me as much as the students that might struggle a little bit. And I can identify more with them, especially with, in the classroom and on the basketball court or the cross country field or the lacrosse field. Same thing. When I was an athlete, I had to work hard for it, and I achieved, good grades in athletics too. But I worked hard. Nothing like really came so natural to me.
What sports did you play when you were growing up?
I played baseball. I ran track. But football was like my big sport. And I went to Villanova and played football there. And I played basketball in an outside league, not in high school, in an outside league, like one of those AAU leagues. But they weren't called AAU back in the 70s. And so that was it. I played baseball, basketball, football, ran track. I tried lacrosse, and I coach lacrosse now. I tried lacrosse in middle school and in college, but I never really played on any team for an extensive period of time. So I really like self-taught lacrosse. So that was a good thing.
What's your favorite sport?
Ooh. Well, I can't play any more sports now. My favorite sport to watch, I love college basketball and college football. Those are probably my two favorite sports to watch.
Do you like the NFL and the NBA?
Not as much as I did when I was younger. When I was in my, middle school, high school, college, in my, 30s and 40s, I loved watching, pro football, pro basketball. Now I don't have the time to dedicate, to watching, sports on Sunday, all day.
So what made you choose college football and like college basketball then?
Well, the school I went to, Villanova, is a very good basketball school. They have a lot of good, they've won national championships, so it's easy to follow a team that's a winning team. So I've always followed them. And a couple of, lifetime friends that I've had that went to Villanova, we, kibitz and talk about Villanova basketball and, celebrate when they win and, get down when they lose.
Yeah.
And now my son went to Alabama, and Alabama's a great football team. So it's always easy to, I think, follow teams that win. Like Met fans, they stick with the Mets even though they're losing, but, it'd be easier if they were winning. You'd get more people to follow. So I think It's easy to follow teams that win as opposed to following teams that lose.
What are you doing like your free time outside of school?
That's a good question. Well, we talk about watching sports.
Right.
So I do watch sporting events. I watch Villanova basketball, Alabama football. I spend time with my kids. I like to go out to eat.
How many kids do you have?
I have 2 children, 28 and 25. One's a financial real estate advisor, and another one's a school teacher.
Oh, what do they teach?
So my daughter teaches at Garden City Elementary School. She's a phys ed teacher.
Oh, all right.
Yeah, and my son's doing right now real estate, and also working as a personal trainer. So he's trying to get me back into shape as well.
Is it working?
It's working. And so I go for walks too in my free time. I like to walk.
Oh, for how long?
Oh, it varies. It goes from maybe 2 miles to 4 miles, maybe twice a week.
So do you walk around a park or just around your neighborhood?
Around the neighborhood or a boardwalk. Yeah.
Oh, you live near a boardwalk?
Yeah, I live at Long Beach.
Oh, how's the boardwalk there then?
It's fabulous. Yeah, it's I mean, you can say it's world renowned because it's a wonderful, boardwalk. Yeah. And people from all over, go to Long Beach to see that.
I've never went. I don't think I've went to the Long Beach boardwalk.
Yeah.
So, what's there? Is there any carnivals or anything, or is it just a boardwalk?
Right. That boardwalk, the Jones Beach boardwalk, there aren't too many vendors there. I know along the Long Beach, I think there's 3 vendors, and they're all restaurants, little huts that sell, drinks and burgers and fries and things like that.
Have you had anything from those vendors?
Yeah, each one of them.
Oh, how was it?
They're all good. They all have their own specialty. One's good for shakes, one's good for burgers, one's good for chicken.
So, which one do you prefer?
It depends how far I'm walking. If I'm going for a long walk, I'll have that heavier meal so I can walk it off. But if I'm going for a short walk, I don't want to bog myself down too much with the food.
So, would you say you're more of a sweet or savory person?
I would say sweet. Yes. Good question.
Have you always been into sweet?
Yes. I've always been into sweets. The only thing that would deter me from eating them is when I'm really into my workouts and trying to watch my weight. I mean, you can wave a chocolate cake in front of me and it wouldn't bother me. But for the most part, yeah, I have a sweet tooth, which I have to watch.
I guess this is my next question. So when you were a kid, what did you think you'd be when you grew up? I've been kind of wondering this for the entire podcast, but would you say you were gonna be an athlete when you grew up? Because you said you played a lot of sports. So was that ever something you were considering?
I never considered being a professional athlete, even though I did play a lot of sports. I think one of the things that I wanted to be was an army man. I grew up in the 60s. There was a lot of, turmoil in the world and people going to Vietnam. And I had friends who had older brothers that were going to war. And I was like, that's what I want to do. I didn't know if it wasn't, it could make a profession out of it, but I didn't know it wasn't a profession. My dad was a white-collar worker, so he worked, in an office. Mm-hmm. But I definitely wanted to do something physical, I thought, and I thought that, helping people and be a good thing, So.
What branch in the Army?
I think it might have been actually, the Army. I didn't want to be the Navy or the Marines.
Right.
I just wanted to be Army, artillery, and that kind of combat. But if I did, hopefully I would have been an inspiration to people going forward. Because that's what I'd like to, if that's one legacy that I would have to leave this earth with, is that I just was a nice person that was approachable, that helped motivate you or students or people to be the best they can be. And I guess that's a slogan for the Army, right? Be the best you can be. Join the Army or something. Mm-hmm. So maybe that was, subconsciously in my brain that to help people just be the best they can be.
I think you're doing a very good job at that in your classroom.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah, we're just about out of time on this episode. So thank you for watching this episode with Dr. Sinacori. That's going to do it for me. And we'll see you next time. See ya.
Bye, everybody. Enjoy the future podcast. It was a pleasure and honor to be here, and I'm looking forward to listening to other podcasts as well.
You can find us on Spotify. Information about this show and more can be found on Twitter and Instagram with the name @Herricks Studios. You can find this podcast on your favorite app, searching for Herricks Studios. And if you'd like to leave a review, please do so on Apple Podcasts, and we might read it on the show. This podcast is a production of Herricks Studios with Mr. Heit in the Content Creation Foundation's 8th grade elective. The views and opinions expressed in these recordings do not necessarily reflect the views or position of Herrick School District. See you guys later. Bye.
Fantastic job.
Great. I'm so impressed right now. Look at it.
Thank you.